Welcome, everyone, to episode number 22 of the JD Outdoors podcast. Follow me on Instagram at JD_outdoors1773. Today, my guest will be college angler Alex Gauld. You can follow him on Instagram at AlexRG1207. Today, we'll be talking about fishing the D-K Rig, or other words known as a Weedless Ned Rig. And also, I wanted to mention the giveaway happening on my lure company account. Go follow them on Instagram at JD Outdoors Lure Co. and like the giveaway post and tag 3 friends for a chance to win. I believe it is a half a dozen lures that were made by me. So how are you doing today, Alex?
Yeah, pretty good. Everything's going pretty good. Staying healthy, so.
Exactly. Well, now, of course, the country's burning down while we're doing this, but oh well.
Oh, I know. Get my mind off things, though, for a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Look on the happier side of fishing and
yeah.
get all that good stuff going. But obviously, well, maybe not obviously to all the viewers, but for everyone who knows you, you are a few years younger than me or 1 year younger than me or something like that. So we're around the same age.
I think 2.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah,
we're around
2 years.
The same age. And you have been fishing for a very long time, regardless of being the same age.
Yeah.
The first question is, can you give us a little background on your fishing career, how and when you started fishing? I know the story, but for everyone else, if you want to go
Yeah.
to that.
Yeah, so, well, my dad's been fishing well before I was born and everything. I'm 2 years younger than Jordan. And he just kind of got me into it when I was really young. We have a bunch of pictures of me when I'm little in a stroller fishing and everything. And some of my earliest memories are going up to Buckhorn Lake in Peterborough in Ontario and fishing up there with my dad and everything like that. So kind of just been doing it forever. And then once I got to high school, I wanted to kind of get more serious about competitively fishing. My dad had done it for a while, and I only did a few opens, and I really wanted to kind of get into it. So we started a high school team. I did that for 4 years. We have the high school state record for a bag, actually, in a tournament. A couple seconds. We did pretty well, especially my senior year. And then that led me to where I'm at now, and I'm at the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry, or ESF, and in my second year on their bass fishing team there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's you're definitely displaying the whole movement from high school fishing to college fishing, and a lot of people don't know about that. And you and your dad always tell me all the time. Your people are like, you can fish in college. What is that?
Yeah, I know.
What is ESF? I've never heard of that school. But you can go there and learn about fishing, and they're like, yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah. Fastest growing college sport, though. So
yeah, and that's a great thing. Obviously. So tournament fishing, obviously you have your college tournaments and you had your high school tournaments, but do you have any other big plans or anything like that when it comes to tournaments, whether it be opens or stuff like that?
I'm thinking about maybe doing 1 or 2 of the opens. Obviously we're from New York, so there's a couple of them up here this year and everything. So I'm thinking about maybe doing 1 or 2 of those as a co-angler. Mm-hmm. If not this year, then definitely next year, because they always come up here. Yeah. Just kind of all depends how it lines up with school and everything, because I'm kind of still in limbo about where we're going to start and end and everything. But kind of planning on that. And then I'd like to definitely be able to fish the opens as a boater at some point once I kind of even hone my skills in more and kind of get used to that competitive level.
Exactly. So what would you say is your best bass fishing memory?
Oh, well, there's the one obvious one that I've talked about with you way too many times, and that's Owasco Lake, my senior year of high school. My partner we show up to our spot and we catch a few at like 3.5 or so. And then my partner goes, oh, I got one. And I see this thing come up, and it's a 7.5 pound tank of a largemouth. And we're flipping out, freaking out on the boat. We had no idea what to do. So then you obviously start joking, oh, get another one, right? Like 10 minutes later, another 7 pounder. And we won that tournament, ended up with 25.7 pounds. And we both caught our PBs. They're still our PBs. Yeah. And that one was pretty fun. Not only just for me to catch one that big, but to watch one of my best friends catch one. even bigger than that. It was just kind of awesome. The only other one that I think that would maybe close was we did an open tournament, me and my dad, on the Niagara River and Lake Erie. You start on the river, but you could go to the lake. And not as cool of a story, but I caught all 5 in our final bags. And I don't know, that was like the first time in the tournament I had like definitely outfished my dad. So it was just kind of one of those like, oh, I can really do this moments for me.
And for those of you who do not know, Alex Gauld is the son of Scott Gauld, who was on the podcast. I believe it was episode 16 or 17, somewhere around there. But if you go back through the podcast, you'll find him on there. But they don't look anything alike. Their mannerisms aren't exactly the same. But besides that, you can barely tell they're related. But so
we're too alike sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. So us northern guys, especially you and I, like you've had a good chance to go around to a few lakes, you know, and quite a few in the state and out of state. But where's your dream place to fish? Like, because obviously you and I are still young, we've got a lot of time to go hit up these lakes. So where's your dream place to fish?
I know a lot of people would probably say Gunnersville or Kentucky Lake or like the St. Johns River in Florida. Mine would actually probably be Coeur d'Alene in Idaho.
Okay.
I think that would just be so different to go fish.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of similar to what we've got, but it's different enough where I have to use different techniques, different styles, and different approaches. And I just think it would be cool. You don't hear many people being like, oh, I want to go to Idaho to go bass fish. And so like that lake in recent years has gotten way better. And I just think that would be one of them. Second would probably have to be Fork, just because you watch the elites and you see what happens at Fork. So
continuously year after year too. It's insane.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get down to fish Florida this winter, or what, I don't even know if you can call it winter right where we are, because we're barely getting hit with any weather, but head down to Virginia again, and just it really is amazing how different these fisheries are all across the country. It's really awesome to see.
Oh, I know.
And you guys fished in Florida quite a bit, not quite a bit, but you know, a bit as well. And
oh no, yeah, we've gone down. When I was younger, we would take the boat and fish, kind of more central Florida area, and then recent years we've gone down to Miami and targeted peacock bass. So
yeah, that's pretty awesome. That's on my bucket list too, is peacock bass. Those things are sweet looking for sure.
Yeah.
But and then what is your favorite? Where is your favorite place to fish? I feel like I know the answer, but where is your favorite place to fish?
You know, it's got to be Cayuga. I mean, like it's either Cayuga or the Niagara River, but I'm gonna have to go Cayuga just because you go there in the spring and it's just giants cast after cast. You go there in the summer when you can dial them in, it's just giants cast after cast. It's just there's very few down periods. There was kind of one in the fall this past year, but very rarely do you really get a down period on that lake. And there's a season for every lure on there. You can throw everything from like the DK that we're going to talk about later to chatterbait, to a spinnerbait, to crankbaits, to topwater. You can throw anything you want at some point during the year there. So it's just a kind of a great practice lake, honing in your skills lake, and it's still a great tournament lake at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. And you and I and your dad, we had that pretty good day on Cayuga early this spring too. Right when we call it and go in and say, all right, they're not fighting. We find this one spot, and lo and behold, the mother lode is there. Literally, just the mother.
Yeah.
Just insane.
No, like literally just big female bass spawning the entire stretch of where we were. Exactly. Yeah. What do we have? 28 pounds or something for the best 5, something.
And between the three of us, on 2 different boats, between the 3 of us, we had a big bag of fish. And
yeah.
It was an insane day. But yeah, Cayuga, I don't have a ton of experience on it like you do, but you know, obviously the elites go there for a reason. And seen giant bags of both smallmouth and largemouth come out of there, mixed bags. And like Alex said, you can kind of fish for them however you want there, because if you're a smallmouth fisherman, you can fish for smallmouth, deeper edges and whatnot, off of main lake points, stuff like that. Or you can go shallow in the summer for those big old green heads and stuff like that. So.
For sure. I mean, there's something at some point during the year, no matter what your style is or what you're trying to get better at on that lake. So
yeah, exactly. And that kind of leads us into, one of your favorite techniques on that lake leads us into the next segment of the episode, which I hope we can spend a bit of time on this, because it is go into good detail, because this is a rig that not many people know about, but I think a lot more people will be using once they hear about it. But that is, let's go into it. What is your favorite setup and or setups for fishing the D-K rig, or other companies call it just the Weedless Ned Rig, the EWG Ned, stuff like that. So if you want to break down the rod, the reel, the line, the lure, hook, weight, plastic, all that good stuff, go ahead.
Yeah. So starting off just rod and reel wise, I have a lot of 7'1" rods. So that's just kind of my standard fall to, medium action. And that's kind of just what I like to throw it on. I feel like I get enough finesse out of them. I feel like I get enough of power at the same time too. And then whatever reel is honestly kind of comfortable for you on it. You don't want something too small, but you don't want something too bulky. You're trying to finesse fish, but you still need a little bit of a backbone, because you're going to get giants on this rig, especially when you throw it in the spring on the beds. So you want a little bit more power behind your reel and rod still. Line wise, it kind of depends on the time of year or where I'm at. I'll go 10 pound. I actually like mono on it. I kind of like the stretch that it has over the fluoro. Sometimes the 10-pound fluoro binds into itself with how finessey it ends up being. But if you like fluoro and you're really confident, obviously you can stick with that. And then if I need to go down and I really need to have close to invisible line, I'll have an 8-pound fluoro setup for it. So that's kind of where I go from. But you can kind of mix and match. You don't want to go too much heavier than 10, because you're trying to finesse these guys. Mm-hmm. But especially early in the year, you could go up to a 12 if you really wanted to.
Gotcha. So just to give the viewers and the listeners an idea, how heavy are these rigs that you're throwing, these weedless Ned heads? How heavy average are you throwing?
They come in a few sizes. The ones I like are 3/16, so just under a quarter, and then an 1/8, just one size below that. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. So an 1/8, just one size below that. So they're just slightly different in size. They kind of, this is the quarter there. I mean, you can tell it's really small, or the 3/16, you can tell it's really small. Yeah. And then even smaller is your 1/8. I like early in the year to go with like a 3/16. In the middle of summer, I like to go lighter and just kind of give them just a very small weight. And then we'll go back into that heavier kind of zone. But it all depends on where I'm at, what kind of cover I'm around and everything too.
Gotcha. Can you actually pull up and show the camera one of those Ned heads close to the camera so everyone can see? So yeah, guys, as you can see, for those who aren't viewing this, basically it is a Ned head with an extra wide gap hook on it so that you can rig it weedless. And it is something that is very unique. I've caught quite a few fish on it. Alex has absolutely demolished the fish on it this year. And it's it's a unique little rig that not many people know about. And
just for comparison, you can see too that that's your normal Ned rig there. So it's a 2/0 hook instead of a 4/0. It's not an EWG, obviously, with the Ned rig like this one is. This one's meant to go through weed, go through cover, and more for largemouth than it is for smallmouth.
Exactly. And I've been seeing this lure for a few years now, but as far as like I've noticed, Venom was like one of the first ones to really like come out onto the scene with it that I can remember. But
yes, they were one of the first ones I remember putting it out too. 3-4 years ago maybe was the first time they released it. But
it's a cool little thing. So then from there, obviously, so you said the rod, the reel, the line, then you're tying it directly obviously to the Ned head. And then what are you doing plastic wise? I know you like to mix things up, and obviously anyone listening, you can put on whatever plastic you desire onto this thing because you can do just about anything with it. And but there, I know, has a few plastics that he prefers putting on there for certain occasions. So if you want to break those down, put them on the camera for us. Let us see.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, if you've got a favorite creature bait or stick bait or something, stick with that. If that's your favorite one, throw it on there. You can throw any creature bait, but just these are some of my favorite ones that I like to throw, depending on the year, depending on or the time of year, and depending on where the fish are at. So starting off, I like to just put on like a little, not little, but a floating trick worm like that. This one's in chameleon color. It doesn't show up too well on the camera. It doesn't even show up that well in person. And it's a pinkish purple color. And you would just put it on. I can even thread it fast. And you would just put it on. And I like throwing this one around beds, especially in the spring. Underneath the surface of the water, it turns more purple and pink than over it. In person, it's a little bit more brown. You would just rig it up kind of like that. There's the head of it there. And then when it's in the water, it'll sit obviously with the weight down, and this will float up. And you just very slowly just walk it back to you. Just cast it super far, or if you're trying to hit a bed, cast it into the middle of the bed and just jig it a few times, let it sit. Jig it a few times, let it sit. And that's kind of my favorite way to fish those, especially early in the year. But then I also like continuing them, and I'll switch over to a green pumpkin color usually a lot of the time.
Okay.
And I like that kind of more in that summer to early fall phase and everything. I'll throw that on like Onondaga by me at school there and everything. And I like it. You get into the weeds, and I will actually target big pockets of weeds where I can see an edge. And I'll cast into the weeds and slowly just hop it out. You'll feel the resistance. And as soon as it's out of the weeds, like 9 out of 10 times on some of these lakes, you'll get hit. If you pull it out at the right angle and the right time, boom, they're going to strike as soon as you hit that edge. So it's a rig that you don't want to be afraid of weeds for, especially if you're throwing something lighter like a finesse worm on there. I actually, when I'm throwing that, like to hit the weeds and kind of just slowly drag it back through. And as soon as it hits that edge is 9 out of 10 times where that strike is going to happen. And that's just kind of one of my favorite ways to throw it.
Gotcha. All right. Sounds good, especially for bed fishing. And like I remember that day on Cayuga, they weren't necessarily on beds, but they were just, in about to be probably within the next day or two. And they hate bright colors on beds for some reason. They just like, if they see them, pisses them off and they got to go after it. So that chameleon color, I can vouch for them in person. Like, out of the water, it looks way different than when it is in the water, and it's a good color. It's definitely perfect for when they're on beds.
And you can also throw your bright oranges, your pinks, your chartreuses, other colors that you would want to throw early on. I don't normally throw them. I really like that chameleon just because it kind of encapsulates a lot into one lure. But I mean, we do have them. I just typically throw them on a different rig. But if I'm throwing that's early season, that'll catch you some big fish that are moving up or sitting on beds.
Awesome. So then what are the other baits that you have lined up that you'll throw on there?
So I've got 2 other kind of ways I like to throw them. One of them I like year round, but particularly summer, especially when the water's hot. So, Chautauqua gets hot, or so just kind of warms up a little bit more. When the bodies of water are kind of really warming up there, I like to just honestly put on a salty sling, just a normal, you would know it as a Senko, but this is a Venom lure, salty sling, watermelon candy, green pumpkin candy, green pumpkin copper, one of those 3 is usually what I'm throwing. Sometimes I'll mix it up and I'll throw a minnow flash, which is like white. But I'll throw that directly post spawn, and I got about a week window to throw it, and then I can't get hit on it. So most of the time I'm throwing watermelon something or green pumpkin something on there. And kind of the same idea, I want to hit weeds. With this one, I don't like to get into the weeds too much because especially with the green pumpkins and it's warmer, I feel like they kind of blend in and there's nothing that stands out then. So I like to drag it along the edges a little bit more than whereas with the floating worms, you're casting in and pulling them out. With these, they'll sit on there, they'll sit more like this instead of like up like the floating worms do. So you're just kind of dragging it slowly along the bottom still and everything. I just like to hit those edges and just pull it along and try to get one that's roaming or just kind of sitting there waiting for something to swim by in it to ambush it. I think it's really good when the water's hot. I don't really know why. Probably just because they're a little bit stingier. They like something pretty simple.
Yeah, the action or whatnot.
Yeah, there's not a ton of action with it or anything too, so you're not doing too much with it then. And I mean, at the end of the day, you are finesse fishing here. You're not throwing a chatterbait or a spinnerbait or something for them. You're doing this when the sun's up and you're trying to hit around the dock. You're trying to hit around a weed line, something like that. And that technique more in the summer, I've caught more smallies on than the other ones. Still gets more largemouth, obviously, but I mean, if you're in a spot that's like 10 to 12 feet and you know that large or smallies roam there too, don't be surprised if a smallie hits it. They like to eat whatever comes by them, just like a largie does. So
yeah, a lot of people get scared about the bigger baits for the smallmouth, but for some reason they don't care. They think that they can fit these giant baits in their mouth, and sometimes they do. So it's awesome when they want it. Yeah.
And effectively, you're just throwing a giant Ned rig. So
exactly. And that's the other thing that's kind of super important about this is like he keeps saying finesse fishing. It's like if you're wherever you would fish a Ned rig like early in the season before the weeds come up or whatnot, you can fish this there in the summertime when the weeds are there, and you're going to be able to get through, and it's just a streamlined presentation.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely.
And then that you got.
Yeah, so I throw this one in two different sizes. I've got the 3-inch terror craw, but sometimes I use a 4-inch dream craw, and just a little creature bait just like that. We've got the craws on there. Sometimes I like to dip them in like spike it and kind of add like a little bit of chartreuse flair. More early or super late is kind of when I like to do that. I like starting with the 4-inch dream craws. We're like all out. I couldn't find any, but I like starting with the 4-inch dream craws early in the year on this rig, and then going down to the 3s, especially putting it onto the 1/8 ounce D-K rig. I just like that one a little bit more. I think it in the summer when you're trying to mimic like a crawl like that, especially around docks, I like to skip this one. And that smaller head skips a lot better. So if you're trying to skip sides of pontoons or under a pontoon or underneath a dock, something like that, and you want a craw presentation, that little bit smaller craw is a little bit better. And then if they strike near the head too, just on this smaller one, they hit the hook will be like right about there on it, and you're bound to catch it. You're not going to miss it on that lighter tackle still. So they'll get it in your mouth and you can still get a really, really good hook set on it. I mean, I would honestly throw that anywhere that you would throw the other two. You can throw this one early, you can throw it late, you can throw it in the hottest days of summer, right when you're beginning, if you're targeting largies over smallies or something like that. But when I throw a craw, I'm just trying to kind of hone in sometimes, and then I change up a little bit more on what I'm doing.
Gotcha. And then colors for the craw, are you kind of keeping them the same? I know like you guys like the green pumpkin copper and candy and
yeah, sometimes watermelon red, watermelon candy, June bug too, if you're a big fan of those darker colors, or like a black and blue if you like the darker colors like that. For sure, my partners have caught fish on that color and stuff plenty of times when we're both trying to throw different things and try to figure them out. So whatever you're comfortable with color wise for almost any of these lures to experiment, like go out, use them, and use different colors that you think might work. If root beer or something might work better in your area, go with that.
Yeah.
It's not an end all be all. Use whatever's going to work for you and where you're at.
Yeah, exactly. And I've used it up at Thousand Islands. I know you've used it on a ton of the Finger Lakes and stuff like that. So it catches them everywhere, and there's a time and a place for it. And the way I was fishing it up at Thousand Islands was like steeper rock walls that would kind of come out quickly, and there's scattered rock and weeds, and they would be sitting like right on the internal weed edge. You'd cast it up almost onto shore and like hop it down into there, and then they would just
Mhm.
get it right away. And it was
Not to give away
what's
not
that?
to give away one of my favorite spots on Cayuga, but a lot of what I like to target there is rock piles,
Yeah,
except for that day that you and I, Ned, when we were on separate boats there and
yeah,
destroyed them.
yeah,
But a lot of what I like to do there is target rock piles and everything like that. So it's the exact same thing. You
yeah,
drag it off and you just kind of let it fall. So you can throw it early before those weeds are up. You can throw it late or in the summer when those weeds start to fill in more and everything
yeah,
like that. So extremely, extremely versatile. And if you've got other creature baits, I know people throw lizards on them. I know people like to throw other things kind of like that, other stick baits, other creature baits, beaver baits, stuff like that.
mhm,
If that's what you like to do, go for it. I just have a lot of confidence in these three. So
yeah. Awesome. And well, I had another question for it, and you kind of answered it. And we both talked about it now, but where do you throw this presentation? And the answer is pretty much anywhere, because
yeah,
you can drag it, you can flip it,
yeah,
you can do anything you want with it, because it's like um and if you wanted to, you could probably throw the heavier ones on casting gear and really fish it around docks, because you can throw a little 4-inch bait on there, you can throw an 8-inch bait on there. Like it's really, you can do
yeah.
whatever you want with it. It's really a versatile thing.
I will say there is kind of a depth limit on it. You don't want to go too deep. At some point, then you start to lose your feeling with it because it's so light. I would at that point go to maybe a little bit heavier Ned, like a quarter or something, just slightly over a quarter Ned if you want to go deeper. But anything about sub 15 feet
Yeah,
is usually where I find it works best. If you're going over that, especially like if you're say around us, like on the lake or the river here, I would go down to a Ned. I would downsize at that point because you're just losing too much feeling, especially if you're throwing the lighter ones or something like that.
exactly.
But other than that, anywhere that you really can, throw it and work it back and you feel confident in
Yep.
helps you get to some of those fish that you can't always get to. So
Exactly. And finesse fishing, something super important that honestly I haven't talked about a whole lot on the show yet. And we've been talking about crankbaits. We're going to be talking about spinner baits and stuff like that. But that finesse stuff really comes into play when the bite is tough, or when they seem to not be biting at all. But
and I know a lot of guys hate it, but it's kind of my favorite thing to do. I think just because my dad stands on the front, throws a chatterbait, and then I can follow up with something else. But
all the fish
I don't
pop
know. I like finesse fishing. I like the fight on a spinning rod sometimes.
for sure. And like we always talk about, kind of with the smallies and whatnot, how you almost have to use spinning gear for almost everything you do for smallmouth bass, and it's just like
Yeah.
the fight that you get out of it, listening to the drag peel, you gotta love it.
Oh, it's there's like not a feeling like it. Like
Exactly. But let's kind of get into the last few questions to wrap up the show here. And the first
yeah.
one being, what is your favorite snack on the water?
So it's gonna surprise people. I don't eat that much on the water. I fished a tournament or two with you, and you've seen that I don't
Yeah, no,
eat a
you
lot. I kind of get into a zone, and I can't get out of it sometimes.
same here.
And it's not necessarily catching them. I like to dial in. But usually like a protein bar or a bag of pretzels or something like that. Just something small when I'm firing up the motor and changing spots, something I can eat while I'm driving and then
Exactly.
not wasting fishing.
Yeah, that's how I always feel. And like that one tournament you and I did on honey, I think we probably had a few sips of water all day, and that was about it. Like we were just
Which
so.
was probably bad because I think that day was like 92
Oh
degrees.
yeah, it was. We were so hyper focused. We found this one uh, spot where we were trying to catch them on a frog, and we were there for like 2 hours, and it was like 90 degrees at the end of the day, just like horribly hot conditions. But learn from those mistakes. Drink water or Gator.
We did get barbecue after though, so we
Yeah,
made
we
up for
did get
that.
amazing barbecue from. Not that they're sponsor of the show, they should be though. The Three-Legged Pig on the north side of Canisius Lake is some of the best barbecue I've ever had in my life. So definitely go
Yeah.
there, Canisius Lake. But anyways, next question is: do you have any tips for staying positive on the water?
Yeah, I'm someone that kind of got a lot better at that this last year, especially towards the end. I can get really hard on myself. I've always kind of been like that, especially with school grades when I played lacrosse, things like that. If I made a mistake, I like couldn't drop it sometimes. Lacrosse kind of helped me move past that and everything, but just kind of keep an open mind. Like, you're going to miss fish. Take account of what you did that led you to miss that fish. Did you not give them enough drag? Did you give them too much drag? Did you put slack in the line? Did you reel up too far? Something like that. And then how can you not do that again the next time? Like, I had a tournament a year and a half, 2 years ago now. Missed 2 6-pound smallies at the boat, would have moved us into like second or third place. Yeah. And from that point onward on the river, I've missed 1 smallmouth. Yeah. I realized I needed to give it more drag. I just honed in. How can I do this better? And I've missed 1 smallie that I knew was a smallie. Yeah. Missed like sheephead and stuff. Oh yeah. But take note of what you're doing that caused you to miss something, to not notice, say, that pile of rocks, something like that, and then apply it somewhere else and see if you can replicate that, and just kind of keep your self open-minded. Like, mistakes happen. Watch the elites, they miss fish. Watch the elites, they miss spots, stuff like that. Like, we're all human, it happens, and you just kind of gotta learn to deal with that. Kind of learned that more last year after my dad's accident and everything. Yeah. And I had to fish by myself there a lot, just kind of keep a open mind. I like to put on a podcast or something too, especially if you're by yourself, and just stay relaxed, keep your blood down. Like, just stay calm and don't let it get the best of you.
Exactly. And had I not been working so much, we probably would have done all those tournaments together. Yeah. Work sadly got in the way, but hopefully this year we'll get in a few and hopefully pull out a dub or 2. You never know. But
yeah, maybe 3. You know.
Oh wow, we're getting crazy. But so I added in a listener question segment, excuse me, on the last episode I had with Nick Kuzvis, and I made the post a lot earlier in the day that day, so I had more responses. Yours, I forgot, so I kind of put it a little later in the day. So if you want the question that we got, the only question that we got, I will gladly give it to you, but you do not have to respond if you do not want to.
Go for it.
Okay, the question is, how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Is this Alex?
Yes, Alex Malik. So,
I saw his comment.
I know you're listening to this right now. Thank you for putting in your 2 cents and giving us a nice listener question. But Alex, do you have an answer for that? How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
I'm just going to go with 7 and leave it at that, I guess.
Okay, that's a good number. 10's a lot, 3's a little, so 7's a good. All right, fair enough. All right, Alex. Well, I would like to say thank you for being on the show today. I appreciate it, taking time out of your schedule to do this. And this is the second time we've actually had you on the podcast, and it will definitely not be the last one. Obviously, we are both growing and learning more and more techniques, so we bounce stuff off each other quite a bit. But I learned a lot about the D-K rig, and I hope the listeners did too. Is there anyone that you would like to shout out?
I'd just like to thank Venom Lures. They've been with me forever. They've always helped me out. TH Marine, Wu Tungsten, Lime Lake Marine and RV, they always help us out with our boat, especially all the engine issues we've had recently. Everyone's just been great and everything. And then definitely shout out my college team. Follow them at ESF Bassmasters on Instagram. And if you're young and you're looking to go to school or looking to go back to school, feel free to hit us up if you were ever looking at doing something environmental.
All right. Will do. Thank you, Alex. All right. And then thank you for listening to episode number 22 of the JD Outdoors podcast. Tune in for episode number 23, which will be on Friday. So in a few days here. And the podcast, as usual, is brought to you by Wu Tungsten, Tacticalories, X Zone Lures, and the JD Outdoors Lure Co. Thanks, guys.